Baruch Hashem, today's Daf Yomi is Menachos Daf Samachtas Menachos 69, and we're going to start on the top of 69a, 3 lines from the top. The Gemara says as follows: Hanatza Sharyan, the 2 loaves of bread which allow the Bikurim to be brought, that's allowed from the moment of Hanatza. What is the Hanatza? Is it from the moment of Hanatza or Chanata Sharian? Or is it from the moment of the Chanata? These are both 2 stages of the fruit's growth, which we call budding. Hanata is a little bit later when it's more developed, and the Hanatza is obviously a little earlier. So Rami Bar Chama is saying, at what point must fruit be developed at the time of the Shtei Lechem in order to be permitted by them for the Bikurim? And say that if it develops after the Bikurim, then they need the next Bikurim in order to allow them to be brought. So the Gemara says, "My hanatza, my chanata." What is this hanatza and chanata? Ilay my hanatza the pirei, chanata the pirei. If we want to say it's about the hanatza of the fruit and the chanata of the fruit, so hashta hashrasha sharya. If just like as long as it had taken root, that is when the Omer offering allows the grain. Hanatza v'chanata mipaye, for sure when it's hanatza and chanata it's allowed. What's hanatza and chanata? Rashi says hanatza is when the blossom falls off, and so then at that point the fruit is recognizable, and it's known as smadar, which is a small unripe fruit, and that is the chanata. The word, so, but it's not clear where it is, and these are some of the development of the fruit, these stages. The Rambam seems to say that chanata is 1/3 of the growth. So the Gemara says no, it's hanata da olav v'chanata da olav. It means to the hanata of the leaf and the chanata of the leaf, which comes before the fruit is grown. Miyave kashrasha, is that like taking root or not? Oh well, Gemara says take it. We leave it unresolved. By Rava Bar Rav Hanan. So Rav Bar Hanan said, if we have the following case, if we have chitin, wheat, shezar bakarka, which was planted in the ground, omer matiran o ein omer matiran. Does the omer allow the wheat that was planted or does it not? And Mor says, what's the question here? Hechidami, what is the case here? Ida ashrush, if we're talking about a case where it took root, Tanya, Tanina, we learned it in the Mishnah. And Ida lo ashrush, and if it hasn't taken root, also Tanina. The Tanan we learned, Mishrishu kodem omer, if they took root in the ground prior to the omer, then the omer matirin, then the omer is what allows them. But if they didn't take root prior to the omer, asurin achi yavo omer abad, then they need the next omer. So the Gemara says, no, we're talking about a case, techatztinu v'zarinu kodem omer. We're talking about a case where they harvested and planted them before the omer. The asa omer, the chalaf alayos. So they were harvested and planted before the omer, and then the omer came and passed them before they took root. And the question is as follows: what's the law with respect to taking the kernels out of the ground before they took root and eating them? Do we say kamanda shaja bekatadami? Do we say it's as though they're just thrown into a jar, visharinu omer, and therefore the omer allows them? Which the Omer allows, or Doma Batul Gabi or maybe we say that it's like they're in the ground, and so therefore it doesn't allow them. So Gemara says, now we have another question about these kernels of grain that have not taken relevant. Yesh and ona o ein lo and ona. Is the laws of price fraud going to apply? In general, it doesn't apply to real estate. But the question is this considered to be like real estate or something like a movable property in which would apply? Do we say Yuli Damarwe Shadai Bat Shita? If you want to say that the seller says to the buyer, I'm selling you the 6 cores of grain in the field. Also, you want to say you only put in 5. Ramarava called over Shabamidim Mishkov Shabminyan. I feel Pachos Mikdeo Nachos there. I mean, in there it's just fraud. It's not price fraud. He said I put in 6 and I only put in 5, so there for sure it's a apply. Now the Amar way Shadi Ba Kitabayla. Rather, it must be where the seller said to the buyer, I put in as much as it needs to produce a full yield. He didn't put in enough. But so since he never mentions any specific amount, then it is subject to ona. So yeshla and ona. So the Gemara so do we say that there's ona? The commander shadjevekadadami because it's like he put it into a container, or don't want batul gabekark, or maybe it's like the ground. Now we have one more question. Do we say nishban lano ain't nishban? Do we swear on them? Do we do an oath upon them or not? Do we say kedeshajev akadadami k'metaltalei dami? It's like they're thrown into a jar and it's like metaltalin, minishbayin and you take an oath. Odama batalu agav ara, or maybe we say that it's like it's on the ground ukemekar dami, and therefore it's like real estate. You don't swear on real estate. The Gemara says take it. We'll leave this question unresolved. Next question. By Rami Bar Chama. Chitin shebeglale bakar. Let's say you find wheat in kernels in the feces of the cattle. Usaorin shebeglale behema. And you find barley in the glali behema. What's going to be the law? Mahu. What's the halacha here? So the Gemara says, "Lamai for respect to what? If you want to say it's with respect to getting the tumah food, tanina chitin shebeglale bakar usaron shebeglale behema chishev. If he thinks it's food, emetame tumas ochin, then they don't become contaminated with tumah foods." But with katan lachila, but if he wants to give them for likton lachila, not that he just thought about them, but he actually gathered them up from food, then mitame tumasochin. No, then it is food. So we see from here it is food if you actually get an action. El menachos. For menachos, we want to know if you can use it. Pshita do, obviously you can't. Clearly you can't use something that comes from a feces for a carbon. Now the Gemara says, we're talking about a case where you collected the kernels and then you planted them. And from that you want to bring menachos. What would be the law there? My mishum demi ususahu. Do we say it's repulsive and it's not food? And therefore you planted it. It's no longer repulsive. It's gone. Or maybe we say it's lesser quality. And now, even though it's replanted, it's still worse quality. Gemara says take it. One more question by Rami Bar Chama. Peel Shaboa Kafifa Mistress. A great case. Let's say an elephant swallowed a wicker basket, basically, or a palm basket. Ve'kia derach beisarei, and he expelled it, spit it out, but it came through the rectum. Ma, what's the law? So the Gemara says, what are you asking about? Ilemo miftal tumah. So if you want to say maybe it's no longer tumah, it's no longer a utensil. Tanina, kol kelim yordinly day tumah b'machshava. They no longer tumah and el b'shino ma'isa. You have to have a physical change. If there's no physical change, it can still become tamei. The Gemara says, no, tzricha debalo hutzin va'avdinu kefifa mitris. No, we're talking about a case where he swallowed it while it's palm, and then it became a basket. Meaning to say, the elephant swallowed it while it was just pieces of palm, and he took that and made it into a basket. Do we say miave equal? Do we say it's like it was digested? And havele it's like a utensil that's feces, made out of feces, which cannot become tamei. These feces utensils don't become tamei. Or maybe it's not considered like it was digested, and therefore it's going to become tummy. The Gemara says, "Well, Tivshu Amehada Amar Ula Mishemer B'Shem Yitzadik Ma'asu Bo is the Avim Shnei Tinokos Be'avar Yardin." Once happened that wolves Rahman al swallowed two babies on the other side of the Jordan. Uba Ma'asav Nechachamim B'Tira Sabasar. They came before the Chamim and they said that it's not going to be considered, their flesh is not considered to be a human, and so therefore we see from here that when it comes through the digestive system, it's going to be considered like feces and not like the human entity. Mar says, no, maybe human being, shani basar derachach, human being is soft, so it changes, but the problem is the same. But looking from the conclusion, so we should do the opposite. We should prove here that the fact that the bones are tummy, that in fact it does not become dung. Mar says, no, shani no, bones are different because it's harder. So what's going to be the answer here? So the Gemara says, by Rebbe Zera. So the Gemara didn't answer that question. This one, it doesn't say teku. Gemara does not say teku here. So the Gemara says, by Rebbe Zera, chitun sheyardu ba'avim, wheat kernels that descended from the clouds. Meaning the clouds rained wheat. What is going on here? So Rashi says, as the clouds took up water from the ocean, they swept up a sheepful of wheat. And the wheat then fell together with the rain, maybe like a tornado, and everything was pulled into the sky. So, Umay, so Gemara says, what are you asking about? Ilu Menachos, if it's for Menachos, Amai, well, why can't we use it? What's the law with respect to the Shtei Alechem? It says from the land of Israel, which means you can't do it from outside of Israel, but from the clouds is okay. Or maybe it means literally from your dwelling places. Even from the clouds is also no good. Mara says, is there even such a thing that could happen, that the wheat could come down from the clouds? Mara says, in Bar Adi Taya, it happened to Bar Adi the Arab. There came down from him a wheat, a kizba high, over an area of 3 parsecs long. So this actually happened. So the Gemara says, "By Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, Shiboas shehevia shlish kodem omer, a stalk of grain that grew a third prior to the omer, va'akra, and then he uprooted it, ushasalo achar omer, and he replanted it after the omer, v'osifa, and it grew. Mao basar ikar tzlin, and do we go follow the beginning? The shari omer, and the omer allows it. Odema basar tosefas tzlin, and do we go by the growth? Hachiyava omer abba, until the next omer comes. So the Gemara says." Why answer it from the question that Rabbi Avo said the name of Rabbi Yochanan? Yolda shesibcha biskein. If a young tree was grafted onto an old tree, uba peros, and it had fruit on it at the time, even if it was increased by 200, it's forbidden because although oro is nullified in 200. The fruit of this grafted tree does not become nullified by 200 increase. In this case, it won't become nullified because it's part of the tree. So the Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar Rabbi Yochanan batzal sheshatawa b'kerem, an onion planted in a vineyard. The nekar kerem, the vineyard was uprooted. I feel a hosif b'masayim, even if increased by 200-fold, also it's prohibited. Mar says, "Oh, he gufa coming by. That's exactly our question. Where the rabbi was clearly obvious to the rabbis that we look after the root. It doesn't matter to be strict or lenient. Maybe we only go after the root to be strict, but not to be lenient." Mar says, "Take. We leave it unresolved." Okay, we'll stop here. This is today's daf. Baruch Hashem. This is the daf yomi for today for Shabbos Kodesh.